one of the most unbelievable things I've seen in Northwoods League play in 23 years.
The outside corner, and the Wisconsin Rapids Raptors are the 2016 Northwoods League champions.
Well, hello there, baseball fans, and happy Sunday fun day to you. We regret to inform you that it is the final day of the Northwoods League regular season, and there's so much at stake, I can't even believe it.
That's right, there's still one playoff spot up for grabs, and that will be decided today. But more on that later in the show.
You thought we were going to give it all up at once? If we did that, you wouldn't respect us.
And I like to feel respected. But anyway, let's get to some highlights from last night as we will head out to Baker Field, where the Dock Spiders were hosting the Bullfrogs. And wowee, what a beautiful day to play some baseball. We'll start here in the top of the fourth. Mikey Filia up for the Bullfrogs with the bases loaded. He goes oppo into the corner, and that will clear the bases. Everyone comes chugging around to score, and Filia is going to end up at third base with a bases clearing triple. Let's head to the bottom of the inning now. Eric Gilgan-Baca is up, and that is what's known as a Gilgan bomb. There goes the shutout. And Fondy moves within two on the home run by the Notre Dame product. We'll go to the sixth now, a runner on third for Aaron Gex. He puts it out to center, and Filia, well, he just can't quite find it. It drops, the runner scores, and Gex is going to end up at second base. Next batter is Mark Martin, with Gex now at third, and he sneaks it through the left side, and that is going to tie the game on the RBI single. So we got some drama here going into the late innings. Bottom of the eighth now, 2-1 for Luke Mangieri. He gets a hold of this one. It's out to the wall, and he narrowly misses a home run as it is off the wall. Both runners are coming in. Mangieri chugging for third, and he will slide in safely. The throw gets away. He hesitates, then decides to go home, and he's out. But it's all good. Fond du Lac takes the 5-3 lead, and eventually the 5-3 win. Fondy is now on 4 straight as they continue their fine play here to close out the season.
Yeah, Fond du Lac has been one of the hotter teams in the second half. Let's now have a look at the game between St. Cloud and Eau Claire from last night, as the Express are the last team near the top of the North that has yet to clinch a playoff spot, which is hard to believe given the standings. We'll get to that later. We had some good old-fashioned baseball in this one here in the top of the first. Keaton Kringlin bloops this ball into shallow center field, right in the middle of no man's land, deep enough to drop, and that will bring in Ricardo Sanchez to score. That was the lone run of this ball game, but it's not as if Eau Claire didn't have any chances. The St. Cloud's starter, Jake Stevenson, was just too dominant, though. Here in the sequence, we see 3 of his 8 recorded strikeouts on the night. Here's that last one, just filthy there with the high heat. And Stevenson was so dominant in that contest that it earned him the pitcher of the night. In that outing, the Minnesota Gophers sure did row the boat in this one. Stevenson threw 8 innings and guided the Rocks to that 1-0 win, as we saw in the highlights. In total, Stevenson allowed just 3 hits, no runs, no walks, and struck out 8 in that performance. My friends, that is a quality outing. In a clutch situation as the Rocks look to get that #1 overall seed in the North, again, a lot of that to be determined here on the last day of the season.
As great as Stevenson was pitching the ball, that's how strong Lakeshore's Rylan Thomas was with his bat. Lakeshore picked up a huge win last night as they clinched a playoff spot, and they went in the win over the Rafters. It was in large part due to the offensive performance from Thomas. The slugging third baseman went 4 for 6, scored a run, and drove in 3 runs. Also hit his 10th long ball of the year, so he's in double digits. The Chinooks really needed that win, as we mentioned. Now let's have a look at the rest of the scores from around the league last night. In the South Division, we had a doubleheader between Kalamazoo and Rockford. Kalamazoo won the first one 2-0, and the second one 4-1. With that, they've won 10 of their last 12 ball games. Lakeshore clinched a playoff spot with the win over Wisconsin Rapids. Fond du Lac, as we saw, got the better of Green Bay 5-3. Wisconsin beat Kenosha 5-4. Madison at the Duck Pond, as we saw there, won 7-3 over Battle Creek.
And in the North Division, Eau Claire was hosting St. Cloud and dropped that one 1-0. Moving just below that, the Mankato Moondogs beat the Big Bat Rochester Honkers there at Mayo Field. There at the bottom of your screen, Wilmer went up across the border and defeated Thunder Bay. Then coming up the other side, Waterloo absolutely crushed Duluth 17-2, and that one 21 hits for the Bucks. And finally, Bismarck got the better of La Crosse in a game that only went 8 innings as the 9th inning was rained out.
With this being the last day of the regular season, let's have a look at the standings in the second half as they rest at this moment. In the North, Eau Claire and Mankato are tied yet again for the division lead in the second half. If Eau Claire wins, they're in the playoffs, and if they lose, they're not. Wilmer sits in third, then St. Cloud in fourth place. Following the Rocks, we have La Crosse, Duluth, Rochester, Thunder Bay, and then Waterloo and Bismarck in the basement, each at 14 and 21.
And over in the South, Wisconsin Rapids has clinched the outright title with Battle Creek 2.5 back in the second half. Then we have the surprise Fond du Lac Dock Spiders in third place in the South Division in the second half. Then we have Rockford, Lakeshore, Kalamazoo, who is on fire as of late, as we mentioned, 10 out of their last 12. Madison, Kenosha, Green Bay, and Wisconsin. The Woodchucks have won their last 2 games.
Well, we hinted at it earlier, and now we'll have a look at the most recent playoff picture. And the bracket here as we see it. The South one is final. Wisconsin Rapids is the 1 seed, Lakeshore the 4 seed, Rockford the 3 seed, and Battle Creek the 2 seed. In the North, however, we still have a possibility of Waterloo sneaking in. As we said earlier, if Eau Claire wins today, they are in the playoffs, and if they lose, Waterloo is in. So that is the standings as we have them today, but St. Cloud the 1 seed right now, Wilmer the 4 seed, Mankato the 3, and Eau Claire the 2. Well, while we think you should watch each and every game today, there is one in particular that has tremendous playoff implications, as there are still 2 teams left eligible to make the playoffs, and it depends who makes it heavily on this game. St. Cloud is at Carson Park today to take on the Eau Claire Express, and if the defending North Division champions of yesteryear can hold off this year's first half champs, then they will likely be in the playoffs over the Waterloo Bucks. What will really help Eau Claire's cause would be a loss from both Mankato and Waterloo. However, a win today is absolutely necessary to cement a playoff berth. Eau Claire will have Dalton Roach on the mound. He has not yet pitched for Eau Claire, but he was the NCAA Division II Pitcher of the Year this past year. So, I mean, you never know.
Always got to have an ace in the hole. So we don't know if you knew this, but we've only said it a few times. It is the last day of the regular season, so here is a look at the schedule for the league today. In the North, at 1:05, Mankato takes on the Honkers there at Mayo Field at 1:35 Central, 12:35 Eastern. Wilmer is up in Canada to take on the Border Cats for the final time this year. Then we have Duluth playing Waterloo at 2:05 at Riverfront Stadium. At 3:05, La Crosse will go to battle the Larks. And at 5:05, as we saw, it is our game to watch tonight. How fitting that it's the last game of the day in the North. That is St. Cloud taking on Eau Claire.
In the South, at 2:05 Eastern, 3:05 Central, the Rivets are going up against the Growlers at Homer Striker. At 3:05, the Dock Spiders and Bullfrogs begin a doubleheader. The second game of that one's at 5:05. Also at 3:05, the Kingfish are in Wausau to close it out against the Woodchucks. At 4:05, the Bombers are at the Duck Pond, and the Chinooks are at a historic Whitterfield for 1 with the Rafters.
Well, postseason awards were released today. The most valuable player in the Northwoods League this year, you guessed it, definitely Zach Zubia. You know, things like that tend to happen when you set a single-season home run record.
As for the Pitcher of the Year, Aaron Rozek of the St. Cloud Rocks received that honor. He led the league among starters with a 2.39 ERA and also led the league in strikeouts with 78, so that was well-deserved.
You can check out all the Northwoods League postseason All-Star awards at northwoodsleague.com. And one last shout-out among the postseason awards was the award for Play-by-Play Announcers of the Year. Congratulations to Mick Tidrow of Wisconsin Rapids, Michael Keeley of the Rochester Honkers, and Danny Fry of the Waterloo Bucks.
Well, it's the last day of the regular season now, and so we have tears in our eyes. Metaphorical tears anyway, because as Tom Hanks once taught us, there is no crying in baseball.
I was told that a lot, that there's no crying in baseball. However, I used to cry a lot as I struck out on the regular. Check out 5toolale.com to learn more about the custom beer of the Northwoods League and find out which playoff ballparks carry 5-Tool Ale. From all of us around the league, for George, John, Josh, and Sam, sounds like a Beatles tribute band, I'm Austin Drews. Enjoy your Sunday, and we will see you in the playoffs starting tomorrow.
This program is sponsored by 5-Tool Ale, the custom beer of the Northwoods League.